Okay, Lambda Function URLs. So you're probably already aware that you can invoke Lambda through API Gateway or AppSync or an ALB. But what Lambda Function URLs let you do is essentially directly invoke a Lambda function from a URL that has an HTTPS endpoint. There are two ways you can do that in terms of the authentication. You can have auth type set to none, which just means that anyone can call that endpoint and the Lambda function will execute. You might want to do that if it's just a public website, for example. You can also have IAM provided authentication, and then all requests need to be signed with AWS Signature version 4. That's useful in specific scenarios where you might have your client creating IAM-signed requests. If you've got the bane of every web developer's life, CORS headers that you need to be able to return. For example, you need to say that it's okay for a browser to post to this URL when it comes from a particular request source. You can add that within the Lambda function URL configuration. So that's not something you need to implement directly within your code base. The options request that the browser sends can be handled from the function URL setting. There is one particular feature that is specific to Lambda function URLs and you cannot do any other way with Lambda, and that is using response streaming. So by default, Lambda function URLs work just like every other Lambda mechanism in that they buffer a response and send it all to the client when either the buffer is full or it is complete. But you can also do response streaming. This is particularly useful where you've got something very large that you might want to stream to the client so they can be processing it as it goes along. Or for scenarios, for example, when using generative AI, where you want to give the user something as quickly as possible while more things are being generated in the background. So you can, for example, give the user letter by letter responses from the LLM when you're using generative AI. So the response can still be generated, but essentially they can see what's being output by the language model as it's generating it, and it provides a better feel, albeit overall it's actually still taking the same amount of time to produce the full response as using the standard buffered mode. As I say, this is specific to Lambda function URLs, and I would suggest that you try and remember that for the exam, because it's the sort of thing that may well come up, because as I say, it's the only way to do it. Here are some notes for you. Until next time, enjoy the cloud.